and let him fight it out, selling the same products to the same customers. This practice died out after Patterson revealed its folly. In 1895, a young man joined Patterson's company. This man, Thomas J. Watson, was destined to become another super pro of sales. After he worked his way up to become one of Patterson's top assistants, they parted ways. Watson went on to become the driving force behind one of the most dynamic companies the world has ever seen, IBM. Watson's finest contribution to the profession of selling was his concept that no one should ever be out of training. This is a very profound idea. You don't have to go to school today to continue your training, to keep on learning. There are books, audio programs, lectures, seminars, magazines, video, and more. The list of training and learning resources goes on and on. If you stop training and learning, you start sinking. Nobody can float. You're either rising or sinking. It's been this way for 1,000 years. The only difference is that you can rise or you'll sink a whole lot faster now. The next super pro was H.W. Dubisky. When he arrived in this country right after the turn of the 20th century, Dubisky had just turned 14 and couldn't speak English. 4 years later, he was a chalk boy, posting prices in the New York Stock Exchange. Only 3 years after that modest beginning, he opened his own securities firm. More than any other man except Watson, Dubisky understood the opportunities that Patterson had discovered. Feeding off Patterson's concepts of selling, Dubisky perfected mass training. He perfected the prepared sales talk. He perfected the inspirational sales meeting in an age when it worked, and he developed the original philosophy that securities could be sold during one sales call. Dubisky was the master of staging what we used to call, well, never mind what we used to call it, the shot in the enthusiasm meeting. Every morning, his salesmen, there were all men in those days, got together for a session of chanting, cheering, and singing that in a commercial way had almost the fervor of a religious revival meeting. Nobody got a sales management job in that firm unless he could give the men a motivational shot every morning and lead them through the company's songs and cheers. After Dubisky's salesmen were pumped up to the bursting point with enthusiasm and determination, the managers would turn them loose on an innocent world. Barely a dozen years after he reached this country, Dubisky sold out and retired with $5 million in government bonds. In 1914, that was an awful lot of money to have earned by the ripe old age of 26. 20 years later, I started looking for work. I went into sales because in the bottom of the Great Depression, sales work was the only kind available. My first job was with a traveling sales crew. The system was easy to understand. If you didn't sell that day, you didn't eat that day. I mean literally. We sold personal stationery to school teachers and secretaries. They were making about $4 a week, and our stationery was $3.75. That was a tough sell. We closed because it was the only way we could survive. We were gypsies then. When we found something better, we changed. You name it, I've sold it. After the Second World War, I became the sales manager of an aircraft distributor. We sold 3,000 planes in 1 year, a record that's never been approached by anyone else. Then the bottom fell out of the aircraft business. Demand for airplanes vanished. The industry augured itself into the bottom of the earth. I went into the information business with a very bright outfit that was advising businesses on taxes and regulations. I almost walked away from it when they wanted me to learn their canned sales talk. Fortunately, the man hit the right note with me. He asked if I knew everything I needed to know about sales, and I had sense enough to admit that I didn't. So I got involved for the first time with a formal sales presentation in a situation that forced me to learn how to sell. In 3 months, I was a marketing executive.